All right. Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to Left Hand, Right Brain. I hope this podcast finds you well. Today on the couch, I have Ashley and Stephanie.
The crowd goes wild.
Yeah, they are restaurant workers here in Denver, Colorado. Stephanie works front of the house. She's a server. And Ashley, you're a chef. Is that
Chef is perfectly
chef?
acceptable.
It's not line cook. It's not head chef.
Just chef.
Executive
Just
chef.
Executive. See, there's
Exec chef.
a title.
She's being modest.
Yeah, why would you want to be modest here?
My professional title is beer winch, I think.
Okay.
Hey, lady.
That's what you put on your W-2s or your tax?
Yeah.
Bad winch.
I was looking to see what it would take to move to Canada, and they asked us to put in our official title, and that didn't pop up.
Oh,
in
okay.
the drop down.
Well, I mean, we're probably going to own Canada, so I don't know why you move
Yeah,
there.
I know.
So,
Very true.
I mean, well, I'd go somewhere else. Yeah.
I just want to go to
The
new Wild
52nd
West.
state? Or the 51st state?
Yeah, the 51st. Yeah.
Yeah, getting political right off the bat. That's fun. I have you two on because I was enraged or impassioned by a CityCast episode they had a couple days ago at this point, at the point of this recording. It was February 5th. If anyone wants to go back and check out the CityCast Denver episode, it's called A Big Scary Idea to Save Denver Restaurants. He had on a restaurant tour, Juan Pedro or something like that. Yeah, Juan Pedro. And then he had a political guy, former president of Bell Policy Center, Scott Wasserman. Okay, and they were talking about a proposed change to save restaurants because they're talking about how restaurants are closing in Denver at a crazy rate, but labor costs are so high, you know. And I don't know, I just didn't like how the restaurant tour guy was like, things are so expensive, but there was no consensus besides taking down the labor cost.
Right.
And he was like, I don't know any servers that are making minimum wage. Everybody's over it. I pay my dishwashers $24 an hour.
Yeah.
Which is wild because when I was listening to the podcast and I heard that, I was like, oh, that's crazy. I mean, we pay 20 to 21 for our dishwashers, walking in. When he said 24, I was like, I'll be a dishwasher.
Right. I mean, is that comparable to what you're making as an executive chef?
It's about what $8 to $10 less than what I'm making per hour.
Okay, yeah. Because
but if you break down the hours, because if they do 35 to 40 hours, well, we're kind of required to work 50 hours.
And how many hours do you actually work?
Depending on the week, it could be anywhere from 60 to 70. So,
and are you getting paid for those hours, or is some of it not off the books?
It's not. I mean, we're salary, so anything.
Okay, yeah. See, that's what I was getting at. Yeah, it's you're working over 40 hours a week, and they aren't compensating you for that.
Right. So in base salary terms, it's about $35 and $35 to $36 an hour.
Yeah, which he was saying most people are making, most tip servers, tip wage people are making about that.
Yeah.
He did say he was more fine dining, casual, upscale casual. And I know that's not exactly what I know you do, Stephanie. I don't know, what kind of restaurant do you work in? We don't have to use details, but I mean, is it a fast casual? Is it an upscale restaurant?
It's more of fast casual.
Okay.
If you want to compare it to kind of a Dave and Buster's, but with a little bit more emphasis on hospitality.
Okay.
And taking care of people, bigger
bring
parties.
That mic a little bit closer.
Yeah.
You can bring that mic a little bit closer to your face. There we go.
There we go.
Yeah, sorry.
I'm all
No, I know it's a little uncomfortable. It's your first podcast, so hey, we're doing it. We're doing the thing.
I appreciate you.
Yeah, and for the listener, Stephanie and I have been friends for a long time. You guys had a great wedding. I went to the Italy wedding. Most people know from the weight loss challenge I was doing with Patrick. I was doing a weight loss challenge with a friend.
Oh, I remember.
To try and get ripped for your guys' wedding. So I was like, if I can't rip off my shirt and distract everyone with my cum gutters, I don't know what the fuck we're doing here.
Yeah.
Didn't quite work out. It was not the highlight of the wedding. My camera's usually over here.
Hey, when you go to Italy, though, they're shoving food in your face. So even if you were you're just so full all the time, I was shocked by how
there was so much food.
I was shocked how skinny everyone was. Local
in Italy.
Italy,
okay.
And yeah, I was not paying attention, but I was just they just really do put it away. If we didn't finish a plate, I got looks, and I was like, I'm sorry, this is my 9th meal today. I work in a restaurant. I don't eat like that. I barely eat.
Different cultures.
Yeah.
But so you guys have worked in the service industry for a long time. Most of your working experience, the bulk of my working experience has been in the service industry as well. So I know that, when salary workers are like, this is how much I make an hour, or 40 hours is not the maximum of what they're working.
Right.
It's a really grind you down until you're just weeded out kind of industry. I feel like
Pretty much. I mean, it's you got good incentives. You have health insurance. All the insurance is kind of in that sense. You have PTO, and that kind of adds up
as a salary person.
As a salary person, in that sense, so it kind of like balances when you're working, and the more hours you put in, it's almost like if I work more, I kind of make less in an hourly sense. Like if you work 60
if you're working
hours,
60 hours, you're on. But I mean, that's 40 hours is not what they expect from you,
no,
for sure.
It's like it's
required
45.
50.
It's 45 to 50 hours.
Yeah.
For salary.
Which you said you routinely work over. So I mean, that's just like what the reality of it versus what what they say on paper.
Right. Exactly.
So what they were saying is, it wasn't a minimum wage issue. It's an issue with the difference in pay that the minimum wage worker gets versus the tipped minimum wage worker gets.
Mm-hmm.
So it's always going to be $3 and some odd cents lower for a tipped wage employee, and that it's on the restaurant to make up that $3. So whenever minimum wage goes up, that the tip minimum wage goes up because they have to keep that $3 and some odd difference.
Yeah.
And so they were saying that that's what's killing Denver restaurants. If in your experience working in the restaurants, they're saying that like over 100 restaurants, went away last year. Is that something you guys have been experiencing as well?
I will say, like, where I work is successful. I work in a sports bar environment, and it's tricky. It's like a very specific type of dining experience because you're not going exactly for, a cuisine as much as we have deals, like
how much would you say the average plate is?
So I would say the most expensive, it depends. Cause like some days, like they make a deal like almost every day for food. So like, every weekday until 3, they'll do a burger, a beer, comes with a side of tots, or a well beverage, so vodka, soda, whatever you want, or a non-alcoholic, and it's $11.09 after tax, which is like a really incredible deal.
Mm-hmm.
It's like stupid. You can't get that anywhere else downtown, or really anywhere in like Denver proper. I feel like going through the drive-through to McDonald's costs more if you get 2 meals.
Oh,
So they have stuff like that, but like I think where you start to rack up the food cost is like wings are going to be more expensive, or like really they're like each entree is like the most expensive is like maybe the wings, and they're like $18 after tax. But it's more like you're watching sports, and sports take a long time. Sports ball goes on and on and on. So like you start off with something, and then you get another thing in an hour, and then you drink 3 beers and 2 shots of tequila, and then you're like, oh, kind of drunk, so you want something else. You know what I mean? So that's where it kind of like racks up in my situation.
How much would you say the average person spending?
So
customer.
If we're talking a football game, Super Bowl is a great example. I don't know, maybe like 120 food, drinks,
which is more than $120 is what the average customer is paying at your bar.
They're sitting there for almost 5 hours.
Okay, yeah. That's a way more than I expected.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're going to sit there and drink,
But that's like, with beers and drinks, shots, all that jazz, all the things that it entails. Sure.
It just adds up.
Sure. So you're not worried. How much would you say you get paid the minimum wage or less?
So I just looked actually on the, like, preparing here. I looked at my pay stub, and my pay did go up as it does every year, and it's $15.36 right now is what I'm getting paid.
Yeah, the minimum wage.
And then when I looked at with my tips, this is where it's tricky for me because like depending on what's going on like in the sports world, I can make no money in a week, or I could make $1,000 in a week.
Well, that's where that tip thing would come in, where they would have to make up whatever you didn't make in tips.
I mean, like 37. But I've also made 90 at the same job.
An hour.
Yeah,
okay.
An hour.
Yeah.
And then the other piece of the puzzle for me is that I have to tip out. I literally have to tip out the busser runners. Who's like, do you look around? Do you see busser runners at your establishment? And I was like, we have that.
Sure.
And I mean, granted, I do a lot of my own physical bussing off the tables, but they're also expoing on the line. They're bar backing. They're doing a bunch of stuff. So, you know, we don't have bar backs. They're filling a bunch of rolls. They're doing dump buckets, so on and so forth.
Well, that's something I did want to address. Is he was like, oh, well, people are making more at my restaurants when they don't have that tip, the $3 thing. I guess you could have opted out last year or something like that. And he did, and he was trying to say that they were making more, but it was also that they were doing more work, is what it is. Because he was like, I took away busters, we took away this other stuff, so the servers are doing more work.
Yeah.
And they're getting paid a little more to do that, apparently. I mean, I think that evens out.
Yeah.
Because you don't have to tip out these people. Like that would be the argument for why they're making more.
Yeah. And my argument to that, you know, at the end, they're like, you know, if it turns into a debate that can devolve and get ugly very quickly, I'm like, I don't think it's like ugly, but like, okay, if I have 15 tables, which I regularly do, and I don't have a busser runner, and I'm also running all my drinks, and I have like a ordering system where it's still me, but people can plug things in because my section is so large, you know, like I'm busting my ass, but people are gonna feel like they don't see me and they're not gonna tip me. So it's a double-edged sword. Like you need that help and that extra support, because if I have that big of a section,
you just put in the FaceTime with all the customers to
like,
really
it doesn't
feel
matter
that.
how sweet and charming I am if they're waiting, you know, for their beer for 20 minutes and it gets
or whatever.
Yeah, or whatever it is. Like they're gonna be like, oh, this service sucks, and it's like it's an impossible situation. And I'm an over communicator, and I do work in a busy environment, and I'm really good at what I do. So you know, I don't run into that problem. Like people tip me at least 20%. I usually am somewhere between 22 to 24% tip out by the end of the week, like with my total sales of everything. And so then what happens is I tip out a third of whatever I make in a week. So if I made $1,000 in tips that week, because it was a busy sports week, like I made so much money during like Nuggets playoff.
And that's spread out over the 5 days.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like in one night you're making that.
So if I make $1,000, I'm tipping I'm tipping a third of that out. Okay. And then I'm getting taxed on top of the tip out. So it's tricky. It's weird. Yeah.
There's a lot that goes into it that's like more than just like, oh, I made this much money.
Yeah.
But a lot of it's going, you know.
But the consumer doesn't
get to take
see
home
that.
all that. Yeah.
And then the worker also doesn't see that like the business has to keep the lights on, like they have to get the kegs in, they have to pay and do the taxes. So I get it, but it's like something is definitely broken. That part is very true, but I don't know. It was a lot to unpack, I think, listening to that
do you
episode.
guys like your job? I guess we'll start there. You like working in the service, the restaurant industry?
I mean, I love it. I've been doing it since I was 17 and a half. And I started in front of the house. I served. I bussed. I think the only job I've never done was dishwashing, which is wild because I dishwash.
Because they can get paid $24 something an hour.
But like I dishwash more being salary than but that's just like one job code that I've just never been hired for.
Job code.
But I also
so fucking in it. Look at you.
Look cool.
Job code.
But when I hear servers, they're like, I make $15.36 an hour, and I'm like, that's crazy. I used to make $2.13 an hour. And if I made $75 on a lunch, I was crushing it.
Right.
Granted, I grew up in a different demographic than Denver during that time, but that was like 2015, 16.
And you weren't in Denver?
And I wasn't in Denver.
Yeah. What do you think of when they said that Denver's like the most expensive place to get food? Like, why do you think that is for someone who, is more in the biz?
I kind of feel like it's a landlocked state. And that I feel like that that attributes a lot to it
because we have to ship things in.
Yeah, I mean it's almost like Hawaii.
Beef?
Like Hawaii.
I mean, like what are the? I mean
a
fish,
lot of it's
I get fish,
a lot of
but
seafood. A lot of our products, I mean, come from Canada, come from Mexico. Like a lot of our produce just comes from there.
Right. Unless
in
it's
that
corn
sense.
or potatoes.
Corn or potatoes.
Uh,
I mean, we can get our own lamb here if we choose to.
Right. Rocky Mountain oysters.
We can get that here.
No, it's,
Perfect.
in that podcast you can listen and hear, they were saying that they went out for a higher end meal in San Francisco and they paid like $200, and he was saying that in Denver that would have been a $400 meal for sure.
Yeah, easily.
And so it's just inflation, or like what's the cost of getting the food here? That's like the
it's
real
the transportation, it's the gas, you gotta pay the people that are transporting our food. I mean, all that stuff just adds up, and when it comes to being like in the restaurant, we have to pay for that.
Right.
And that reflects in our food, like what it costs. When he's talking about like a $20 burger, I mean, anywhere you kind of go, it's a range from $18 to $22 for just a regular burger. It's not something
the
that's
gourmet
like,
shit.
like I'm not getting like 100% Wagyu and caviar and a little bit of foie gras just on top of it.
Yeah, so
I'll pay some money for that. But when I'm just getting this kind of imported beef, American sliced cheese, and some lettuce that I hope that wasn't sitting for a very long time, you know, it's...
So you get the frustration of
I get
the
that
customer and the restaurants.
Both sides, 100%.
It's guest.
It's all
it's
on
my
the
biggest pet peeve. I love, and to answer your question, I'm gonna jump in on for a second. I do love the aspect of my job. My favorite part about my job is I love hospitality. Like I think I'm a pretty hospitable person naturally. I like to take care of people, and like I know how expensive it is to go out and do something because I have to work extremely hard and get tipped to go out and do something. So I genuinely always try to like give people the same service. I've been a front of house manager. I've worked at a sports bar. I've worked at a Chipotle. I've worked all over the gambit. We worked together.
Yeah.
At a little wine and cheese shop. And that was actually one of my favorite jobs I've ever had. Like now looking back on it, because it was just us eating cheese and drinking wine.
That was most of the time. I was like, let's do some dishes. And
Oh,
you're
yeah,
like, don't tell me
please.
what to fucking do. I got you this job. I was like, I'll do the dishes.
Okay.
But the
Same.
point I'm making is like I love that feeling, and like when I make someone's night or like I make tables laugh, like that is great. What I don't love is the bullshit of like coming to work and like working that hard, making so many people, bringing in Yelp reviews, Google reviews, like, and then like I have to tip out a third of my check to people. And it's not that I don't want them to not make money, the people who help me, not the bartenders or the busser runners, but it's like I wish that the places that I work at would just be able to pay the hourly, like I'm tipping out a host. I'm tipping out yes. I'm tipping out the kitchen.
And they're telling you have to do all this, or are you just being nice?
No. It's
I never
required.
tipped out a host when I worked at.
No.
I worked at an Olive Garden. You know,
Okay.
as a server.
Hey, Olive Garden fam.
So okay, every year, yes, I make more money, and that means my tip out to the busser runners, the bartenders, and the kitchen and the host go up.
But because you're claiming all those, most of it's like credit card stuff like that, so you're getting taxed on all of that.
Yes,
just
absolutely,
so the listener knows, it's like not.
Yeah,
you can't like claim less because because it's all coming in.
Yeah,
and then it's it might say you got $1,000 in tips, but you're what you're taking home is a lot less, and then you're getting taxed
I'm getting
on
the
top
tax.
Of that, yeah.
And then to speak also to what she was saying about like things getting more expensive, I really think what I noticed, because I was being like a front of house manager during like the 2020 through 2022 era, like COVID, we were working in masks. Everything got so much more expensive, and I think it's because the world shut down, and supply and demand was really, really tricky and tough. So everything got pushed up. That's also like when like guests see things on their checks when we were able to go out to a restaurant again and still have to wear a mask in the restaurant, but like you'll notice that's when it got like the like tip appreciation, or like you guys are also paying more as a guest.
Because that should be part of that's going to back house, right?
Right. And I think that was a way to offset what was happening during the thick of the pandemic. And then what I've noticed is it just never has gone away. That little thing on the bottom of your receipt will say back of house appreciation still. That never went away. So and I think like everything has just gotten so expensive for the person who's running the business. And then, yeah, you see the tax that they have to offset go up. You know what I mean? It is like an avalanche of a problem.
What would you say to a customer that was like, I'm going to tip you less because I see that there's a service charge on here?
I mean,
and if I'm already paying to tip out the back of house staff, why would I tip you more?
Well, so no one's ever said it to my face, thank God. I think I would meet it with humility and humor.
Who the fuck would do that?
I'm like, really, really, JD, I'm really good at this job. Like, it's pretty hard to be a dick to my face.
Sure.
Like, maybe when I walk away, they'll be like, shit, like, that
I know, it's
sucks.
like, what kind of fucking Larry David on steroids would have to fucking...
I mean, honestly, I get anywhere from the 25% to 30% tip out the longer a table hangs out with me. And if they were to say it, and they were not being like just like assholes about it and like genuinely saying something, I would be like, I get it. Like, it sucks. And like, also, I wouldn't go out and hang out.
So if you can't pay for it, don't go out is what you're going to tell people? Or is that what you would say to people?
That is what, I promise you, that is what 100% of any service person has ever said shit talking about a table in the back at some point. Like, if someone's going to stiff you, I've been stiffed. They're usually just not bold about it. And it's usually not because they're upset about like how much the thing cost. It's just because they're like on the trashier side. Like, it happens. That is a occupational hazard, and that doesn't really throw me into a doom spiral because I'm like, okay, one table's not going to take care of me. The next one's going to tip me 30%. So like, it'll come out in the wash. You know what I mean? So you have to have a kind of resiliency working in the industry. But yeah, I get it. I don't ever go somewhere though if I can't tip. I would never.
I feel like that's because we work in the restaurant industry.
Yeah.
And we don't. But the average
you have a different
consumer,
mindset about it. Yeah, for sure.
My parents have never worked in the restaurant industry ever. Like, not even one step. Maybe at like a fast food joint. Like, I think my mom worked at a Dairy Queen back in the 70s, 80s. Not to date my mom, but like, they be like, oh yeah, 20%. That's it. But like, they didn't get to that point until I started working in the restaurant industry. When I started working, I was like telling them like, this is what they're like, oh yeah, we'd only tip like 12, 15%. Wait, I was like, what?
Yeah, they just don't know any better, I guess.
And they didn't know. And like, when they were, I don't want to say educated, but when they finally understood, they're like, oh, that makes sense. And now I feel like they take pride. But if you're not educated, it makes sense why you don't.
Sure.
Because you don't know the back end. You
just think that's what it costs, and that's what you know.
Yeah, you're like, oh, okay, I left a few bucks. That's fine. Like, there you go. And then when they hear about, tip wage or minimum wage just going up, they're like, oh, this is fine. They get paid this amount of money. Back in my day, I had to walk, to school, in the
freezing
snow.
cold uphill. No.
Yeah, both ways.
Sure. I don't know.
So, man.
But I mean, so yeah, you're saying you see that service charge, so you're like, okay, I'm already tipping. Right. It's built in. So why would I tip you more on that? That's what I guess.
Because it doesn't go to the server. It's going to some other place. It's getting.
And then you still have to tip out the back of house anyway?
Yeah. That doesn't stop.
So the back of house is getting tipped more now.
Well, but here's the tea. They're not where I work, every hourly employee makes the exact same. So I make 15, whatever I was, like 15.68 or whatever it was. So is the dishwasher. It is not a 24
really?
or yeah.
They can't. Well, the dishwasher's a non-tipped. Well, because they're tipped now. Is that they're they're all tipped employees?
Yeah.
At your job, yes.
Okay, yeah.
It's
So different
a little
restaurants.
tricky. So I love hospitality, and I love.
Oh, but I thought restaurateurs were all just liberal. That's what. According to Juan Pedro over here.
I think that's a silly thing. And maybe I think more
I
restaurateurs.
love that Paul fucking said something to him. He was like, "What the fuck are you talking about?"
Snaps. No, honestly, I think that all restaurateurs are probably closer to a libertarian than a liberal, or you know what I mean? Someone who's like, don't tell me what to do. Yeah, but I don't know. That was a crazy thing to say.
I know, right? Well, and let's see if I could pull it up.
And look, you're talking about an industry that, by and large, not everybody,
this is Juan Pedro,
by and large, is very progressive in thought. Right? Restaurants are always forward thinking. Restaurants are always politically. That's so crazy. On the liberal side.
That's the wildest thing I've heard. I've heard some wild stuff.
But not all, but like I said.
Know, but
Thank you, God.
And what do you?
He's so good.
That's a sweeping generalization of a whole industry. Who knows how these people feel? You know, I don't know if that needs to be what it's about.
Well, it should be partly about that because, I mean, we're not.
Yeah, I mean, he was just saying how liberal. I was like, yeah, that might sound good in whatever fucking restaurant TED Talks you're going to, but I don't think that's the reality. But
that felt very like when I was more in that management role. The reason why I'm a server now and not in the management echelon is because
I expect you to work so much hours.
I have never in my life I walked out of that job after a couple of years because they just kept taking and taking and taking. I had to fight them when I was the only person running their business. I was doing front and back of house, hiring, firing, ordering, all of it myself. And I had to fight them for a $2,000 raise, which by paycheck comes out to like 17 extra dollars. Like, it's crazy after being taxed on that end. And so I was like, when I left and I went to this other current job, I was like, I am great at leading. I could be like a key holder kind of a person. And like, if you need me to close up shop at the end of the night and count the drawer, great. I can train people, but I don't want that kind of responsibility.
I mean, that's the thing that's what's wrong with the restaurant industry is they churn and burn people. They'd rather just hire someone else.
We're liberal. I'm like, that is a load of
there's no union or anybody to like vouch for the employee. I mean, that's what drove me to union work because I'm like, at least there's somebody to like fight for the employee. Because my last I was a bartender at this place downtown, no longer around because obviously they were all hooked on cocaine and couldn't fucking make it work. And I wasn't in the like, hey, let's do cocaine in the bathroom club. So I got pushed out, or I felt like I was getting pushed out, so I just left. But that's what in my opinion, that's what the restaurant industry cultivates. And
it's definitely not great for your mental health.
Yeah.
It can be really, if you don't have boundaries with yourself or with other people and how you can allow them to use you as a product, then there's not a lot of mentally healthy people who work in restaurants.
Not at all. Would you say how do you feel about that? Actually, it seems like you're more, well, you're both like, would you say you're lifers in the restaurant industry?
I feel like I'm a lifer. Like I love what I do.
Well, how do you protect yourself from that, that churn and burn, mentality that so many restaurants have? You have to have been witness to this, right?
Oh, 100%. I mean, I've been burnt. I've been burned out. I've overcome those, but I have, Stephanie. That really helps me just kind of move forward and protect myself and be able to set boundaries to the best of my ability. And that doesn't always happen in the restaurant where I like to be perfect. And that's not a healthy mentality to have in a industry that demands a lot of you. So that's something. And
gives you like impossible parameters to do things. Like you have to like make up so much for like your food cost and your labor. Like you do have to like you write schedules based on labor because of like you have impossible goals sometimes.
Oh, what do I like to call it? So I used to work at Olive Garden, and it was unrealistic expectations that they would have for us, and you have to hope to make those. And it's kind of a gamble sometimes. Sometimes you win and sometimes you lose, and you just kind of do your best to offset and come out even. in the best of your ability. But
so you just do your best.
I do my best.
Just try,
yeah,
I just try. Like
you can.
I
mean,
and
then go home. Just go home at some point.
Yeah, I'm gonna go home to my wife and my dogs and enjoy myself and not think about what the next day is gonna have to actually bring. But I can't say I would do anything else. I love what I do.
Yeah, it's a passion. You love to cook. You're like I am not a lifer.
Okay.
No, I fell into
you're working on ways to get out right now. We were talking about this on the phone.
I'm a theater major, so of course I'm excellent at serving beverages to people.
Go sports.
Yeah, I am not a lifer, but like Ashliegh, for sure, like I can say like she's passionate, she cares too much sometimes, but like that's where successful
this is
people
really an intervention for you
in
Ashliegh.
the industry.
Everybody, come on out. Come on.
No, I know. No, it's not. I love that about her, as long as it has those parameters. And for me, like I have moments in my day, usually at least once a day when I work, where I do make a genuine connection or I make someone giggle, and that is a good feeling.
Mm-hmm.
It's not sustainable for me to stay in that industry, though. Yeah.
Sure. No.
But you know,
some people can make it work.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, I think restaurants has come a long way too regarding mental health, regarding
I don't know about that, babe.
Well, they've come a long way.
This isn't a PR thing.
I don't think it's a PR. I don't know.
You can.
No, I know that, but I'm also gonna like defend the industry that I like love too. They have come a long way. Like I've seen the evolutions of chefs because people watch Hell's Kitchen. If you understand who Marco Pierre White, he's the one that trained Gordon Ramsay. All these hardcore chefs. That industry is like devolved. Now we're a little bit kinder to each other. We like to, it.
Well, we're gonna make kitchens great again, and we're taking away DEI. So careful there.
No, I'm just.
Make kitchens
I have
great
seen
again.
it. I have had. Sorry. I have come from kitchens that are in that kind of hardcore reality, in that kind of era, and into what I do now. I'm very culturally. I don't know how to say it. I love to build culture. That's my favorite thing. We already have to work hard. We're kind of underpaid. I don't say kind of. We are underpaid in every sense of what we have to do, whether you're salary or hourly, dishwasher, busboy, whatever. I build that to the best of my ability. So I think that's where that's where I see that trend.
You're trying to build like a positive work culture is what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
Could have said that in 3 words, and I said it in like 12.
I was just trying to clarify, to
listeners, yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any conflict over the different ways front of house and back of house are treated? This is a question for Paul Caroli. I got some things from him. Because, traditionally back of the house, the way your restaurants run, Stephanie, is fucking wild. That is crazy.
It's
that
a little
seems
goofy.
Borderline criminal, but,
I'm not saying where it works.
Exactly. That was me saying that, not you.
It's hard. It's hard to run the business. I don't
crazy.
know.
Yeah, sure. yeah, for sure. And I was always in the camp of like, if you can't pay your workers, you shouldn't have a business.
Right.
If you can't like pay your workers well and all that stuff. But then, I've witnessed some, local businesses struggling and things like that. And I know they're trying their hardest.
I think that they are, which is the other thing with my job. Like, I'll tell you, like, I don't like the bullshit, but I also see how hard the owners try. Like I will say this is my only hourly industry job that has provided health insurance, and they have mental health stuff. Like if someone needs to go to therapy, they can't afford it. It's not like gonna be like the best. It's better than BetterHelp, you know what I mean? But it's
this
something.
podcast brought to you by BetterHelp. Just saying that.
Just kidding.
But
yeah.
no, I get what you're saying. And that's very cool. But I think the things like the service charges we were talking about that they put on was because in the past, traditionally back of house was not paid as much as front of house.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're trying to make up for that discrepancy. And Ashley, I just know you're more back of the house now, and that's how I met you.
Yeah.
Was doing the chef stuff. So, do you have any conflict with like front of house people, making more or being treated differently than back of the house?
Not necessarily treated differently. I mean, I know they make money. I know they make more money than back of the house. I know that.
That's still a general.
It's still a
general thing.
Consensus. Yes.
Yeah.
I always kind of like talk to Steph, as well. Be like, I don't have to like mentally put myself out there and talk to people and communicate with guests and deal with those kind of problems. Neither does my back of the house. We see something pop up on the screen, and that's what we're supposed to do. We don't have to deal with all that extra stuff. So yeah, you guys should be probably compensated more because I'm not getting yelled at. My staff's not getting yelled at, but you guys are probably getting yelled at for something that's not even in your control.
So dealing with customers is so bad.
Sometimes it can be.
That's just something that I think the general consumer doesn't understand.
No.
That dealing with you is so much shit. They should get paid more.
I'll tell you what.
It's like hazard pay.
I worked the Super Bowl. I was telling you about this. People touch me. People are drunk having a good time. People are talking as close into my face as almost this microphone, just drunkenly like and like best friends. They want to follow me on Instagram. Like they're trying to, and like it is fun at times, but it is mentally,
taxing,
physically, and emotionally taxing. And like the worst is like, even if they're being the best table, like if I have 15 tables and I make, one person just wants to talk to me about something, I'm holding a tray of 45 fucking Coors lattes in my hand. And I'm like, please, you're tipping me. I'm going to take care of you, but can I please walk away? Like, it's just stuff like that you wouldn't think of. In the same way, like when I see you setting up for this podcast, like I don't know how to do that. Right. And you're like, I'm just doing this stuff, but for me I'm like and you're like, you have no idea that I'm going through a list in my head right now of 5 other steps ahead that I need to be. And that's kind of where the guest sometimes doesn't know. And also when a service industry person sits at your table, it's the best. You can always tell because
that's the hope.
They stack their plates and I'm like,
yeah,
I actually hate when people stack their plates because I have my own way I want it, but I'm like, industry, and they're like, yeah, we got it. Or like, I'll be like,
industry?
Yeah.
You go, industry? Finger guns,
I give them a little
secret handshake.
Yeah. I'm like, you too.
I went dishwasher, busser, server, bartender. What was your through line?
I was a server. And
you started off as a server.
I started off as a server and a host.
Had some charm up top.
Oh, yeah. Server and host. I did that. And I worked at pizza joints, Italian joints.
Back of house, though?
So I started there. And then the reason why I went into back of the house was because I felt like these people were going too slow, making my food too slow. And I was like, I could do this faster if I understand how to do this.
That's funny.
And so when I was a server, sometimes when we got busy, I'd go back there and help and like get my food out. Like, I don't have time for this. I got to make this money.
And how would you feel if somebody did that now? Some young hot shot in your restaurant come in and be like, I can do this faster.
Do it.
Okay,
do
you
it.
Gotta let them come back.
You're making more money than I am anyways. Do it. Like I got, there's no, my kind of thing, and this is kind of a little
That's
off.
bullshit. If someone goes and grabs a ranch without your permission, you get so mad.
I mean, bring it in.
I get the principle.
Bring it in.
But,
bring it in. You can take whatever you want. Bring it in. No, I mean, it's kind of off subject. Like if somebody can do something better than me, good, great, love that.
Also,
please.
She goes to other like locations around the country to train people, and that's what she says is like, I'm training them to be better than I am. So that is actually not a bullshit statement.
But yeah, and then I worked as a server at Olive Garden. Then I worked as a bartender, worked as a host, busser, to-go specialist.
You want bartender to host?
Yeah.
Okay.
I did a lot.
Well,
I did a lot.
Just like, why would you ever move around?
Well, because
bartender's like top of the heap.
Yeah. Well, when I was working at Olive Garden, if you could, if the more positions you could work, the more hours you got, and that was just kind of
hustling. You were hustling.
She's stacking her paper.
I'm trying to make this money.
Yeah.
And then I finally got the opportunity to be a line cook, and I was like, there is a sense of power when I was 20. I think I was 20 when I made this transition, and I was like, I hold all of the power in my as a line cook making $9.50 an hour.
Yeah.
I thought
but now look where you are. So I mean, that's the right attitude, I guess.
And it was just, it's a wild like growth, and to watch when these new hourly wages, I'm just like, wow.
Like how much people are getting paid now.
I'm like, this is wild. This is crazy. But like, and you earn that. You should be.
I mean, can you speak to how
but
you
like
have
livable
to schedule
wage and stuff like that is
because of labor
gone
costs?
up as well. So
right.
I mean, you get that it's balancing out in a way or whatever.
It is. As a manager that has to schedule, it is very hard. It is very hard because for me, I care. I don't necessarily have to have an emotional connection to all of my staff members, but people got to pay their bills. And I get that. If you work hard for me, I'm going to do whatever I can for you. And sometimes that gets me in trouble. But you know what? I feel like I'm doing the right thing, and that's right thing by the right people. I get it. This job, pays me, and I'm grateful for that, happily. But you know what? These people show up every day and do their best that they possibly can for me, so I'm going to do what I can to take care of them.
I think that's a pretty rare thing, though. Like, when you're in the upper echelons where you're rolling, you also get the text messages from the GM being like, hey, can we look at that schedule? We need to shave off those hours.
Interesting. And my manager at the last place I worked was just trying to get people to come in and so he could cheat on his wife with them there. And,
woof.
You know what? It's easier to get people to come in than it is for have them come in and schedule them to be there than it is to try to call them in when they're not scheduled. Just saying.
Interesting. Okay. You real manager perspective here.
Real
okay.
manager
Give him real manager, which I respect. Stephanie, you started off where? In just a little history of the services real quick.
Hostess with the mostest. I was really insecure to try and become a server because at that time I didn't think I was smart enough to do it.
To memorize a menu?
This brought to you by BetterHelp.
Although you don't even have to fucking memorize a menu.
It's so easy.
You figure it out.
It's literally so easy. No, it was just
everyone
like
gets the chicken Alfredo. Mexicans want Tabasco sauce with it. That's the fucking.
And here's your A1.
Hostess, server, and then lead server. So more responsibilities. And then I kind of got a little bit higher of an hourly, and then GM saw potential and sort of brought me up. I became a front of house manager, then assistant general manager, and then back down to
so no back of the house stuff.
Well, okay, so no, not really. Like I worked at, like I said,
fine.
at Chipotle.
Okay, yeah,
I worked at a Chipotle. We made paninis at the wine and cheese shop. But no, nothing really like truly like in the culinary realm.
Gotcha. Yeah, the wine and cheese shop was interesting. It was like kind of a weird in between. Because you weren't really, you weren't like a line cook or anything, but you were doing some hot stuff. There was some soup.
Yeah.
It was an interesting time for us.
Yeah.
You do make the best sandwiches, hands down, no matter what.
Do you have a panini press?
No, but I've been wanting one. I still talk about the Amelia. There's a sandwich at this job
that we had.
that I have been thinking about for like 9 years now. This job does not exist anymore. It closed down way before anything from this podcast.
Called Eat Drink on Pearl Street.
Yeah, gorge.
No, Platt.
They still have
Platt, sorry.
They still have the mural for it on the wall. It's like a super green smoothie kind of place now. It's next to Savory Spice, but they never took that down.
I can't believe Savory Spice stayed. Was the thing that outlasted that restaurant.
Well,
a specialty spice shop.
No, a lot of restaurants local use it. She knows one of the people
cool.
there. Yeah, like our restaurant uses it. Yeah, so I think that's probably a big part of it.
Yeah, they weren't counting on people coming in and being like, "Oh, I do need Himalayan sea salt.
I need a dime bag of fucking curry powder."
Sorry, 10 grams. My bad.
Excuse me.
Do you think reducing labor costs is the only way to bring value back to Denver diners? Another Paul Crowley question.
Yes and no. Yes, because Fruition's a really good example. Fruition
What is that?
Fruition was a restaurant down on 6th.
Won a bunch of awards year after year. Really nice. Farm to table.
Like
fine
James
dining.
Beard Awards. I don't know.
I can't
That's
speak
just
to
what
that,
I've heard.
but yes.
What kind of awards? Just Best of Denver and Westward or what?
Yeah, definitely best of Denver, best.
I think it might have actually won a James Beard Award.
Or at least been nominated.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like they're up there in that realm of
like high end.
Upper echelon.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
Echelon. But one of the reasons why they shut down was because of labor costs, food costs. And he was just like, this is not sustainable. I can't take care of my people. I can't provide the best quality food for my guests. So why am I going to stay open? And it sucks because they had really good food, really great service. And the fact that the owner was like, I can't take care of the people that matter. So I'm not going to have this open anymore. So hopefully.
So he couldn't make enough money with his business.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And to be able to pay for everything.
Do you think Denver's a foodie town? Or do you think there's enough customer base to keep that? Or is it just like we don't care about food like that here in Denver?
I think it is definitely a foodie town. I'm telling you, I really think it is a combination of after
combination plate.
After the pandemic happened, everything got more expensive. The prices never went down. I'll tell you right now, and this is not to say one thing or other about politics, but the tariff thing about trade and how much an egg is going to cost or an avocado, that is going to really hurt the restaurant industry because how much are you paying right now for a case of your eggs for your job?
Case of eggs coming in at 15 dozen is anywhere from $136 to $153. So.
And what did it used to be?
Ooh.
Or when it was at the lowest? Can you think of just a low number?
Oh yeah, 57, 62.
Damn. Okay, so definitely it's doubled.
It's not great.
And
or
it's
more
not
than doubled for sure.
It's not the first time this has happened, so we've learned to navigate, but guests aren't going to know that. Guests aren't going to be like, oh, well, at Safeway I have to pay $11 for 12 dozen eggs, but it doesn't translate when they go into a restaurant and they're like, why is an add-on egg, $4?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it used to be $1.99.
Right.
Yeah.
And now it's $4, and that's still at a 50% food cost.
So is that what you say is going wrong with Denver restaurants and why they're all closing?
No.
Cost of stuff?
Cost of food, cost of living, cost of how much we have to pay for labor.
Or just rent for the space, you mean? Is it cost of living?
Too. I think we pay $68,000
to just be in your space.
Just to be in our space. It's a lot of money.
There was this dude that was in my table once, maybe 2 or 3 months ago, and he brought in this promotional thing that was so old. They hadn't been using it. It was a coupon, and they hadn't done it in 5 years. And he came in with it, and it was a free beer. And I had to grab my manager because I was like, yeah, I don't think we do this anymore. I've been here for quite some time. And he was miffed, so I got ahead of it before he could complain to me, and I let my manager know. So she goes over to talk to him, and he's like, I don't understand why you can't just honor this and give it to me. A beer's cost 50 cents for you to pour. And she comes back to me, and she was upset. She's like, people don't understand, a beer does not cost 50 cents to pour. I have to pay this person. I have to keep the lights on. I have to make sure that the POS system that we're using, we have to pay for a monthly subscription. We have to do that. The beer itself might cost 50 cents to pour, but everything else.
The POS system is the
point of sales.
Yeah, it's when you see the server putting things into the computer, that's the POS system.
Yeah, most of the time now you'll see.
That's crazy. It's a subscription service now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's always
That's
so
always
Toast,
been that way.
Toast. Aloha is pretty old school at the I feel you'll see everyone with the handhelds.
Yeah, Toast is the handheld
is
one.
the main gig, and those guys was just the thing. Those are $700.
The handheld device
individually.
Or how much?
$700.
Damn.
And then
they're getting their money.
They're getting So it's stuff that it is that top that trickles down
top
and
echelon.
It just keeps going. Echelon.
Echelon.
If that was our restaurant.
Yeah, I guess what I was getting is, I don't know, I was listening to this, I was thinking about you guys, I was thinking about the people I know that worked in the service industry, the people, when I worked in the service industry, it always just seemed unfair. It always just seemed never to work out in my favor. You know, I felt like they were like, oh, you're making this much, but it's like never was enough, or felt, I don't know. They always seemed like it was like a privilege for you to be working, you know, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
That was my experience. I'm not sorry. I'm not trying to put anything on you guys.
No, you're absolutely right. When people are like, oh, you're just a server. And it's like, you know how hard it is to be a server or anything else in the restaurant industry. It is very hard. So when they're like, oh, you're just this, or
when they're like, oh, I have a grown up job. That one's usually
like,
yeah.
I mean, in other countries, serving, like being a fine dining server or something, was something you could do, you know, and make a living off of. You know?
I mean, for us together, I mean, I couldn't live by myself with just what I made. We just did our taxes. You know what I mean? Like
financially.
Yeah, financially. Like just if I was on myself, I would not live in Denver. I could not.
So you guys are doing it. I mean, it's, you know, it is possible, but I mean, it's still not.
Yeah, we sit down though and we have to work it out.
Sure. Yeah, and, there's still
everyone does. Yeah. But it's should not be the statement. Yeah. We just have to stress out for 3 years or 3 hours and make a PDF chart on and go through every single thing we have and make sure it's accounted for.
I mean, everyone's got their struggles for sure.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's just speaking towards something at the beginning of the episode of the CityCast episode. He was saying, you know, like we hire single moms and like criminals and things like that. It's like
to accommodate schedules.
It's okay.
But it's also very true. Like it's not wrong.
Not the criminals part.
Only job a criminal can get is washing dishes.
Hey man, they have to be somewhere. They have to show up on time and they have to be home by a certain time.
Yeah.
A lot of restaurants do it. But there's also some I mean, to a certain extent, they're not hiring like these crazy felons.
No.
Yeah, if you can't trust them with a knife, they're probably not.
Yeah, probably shouldn't have them there. But they do.
Do you remember there was? Yeah, never mind. I'm not even going to go into that story.
But
keep that one inside.
I guess just wrapping it up, you know, I don't know. Yeah, I guess that's what I was feeling about it. Just frustrated about, you know, this guy talking about the restaurant industry, how it's like this liberal safe haven, or, you know, whatever. And safe haven is not the right word. It was this liberal, I don't know.
Kumbaya.
Yeah, it's like that was not my experience. It fucking sucked. And
you didn't ever like it? That it was never.
I mean, when I was younger, and it was, you know, I mean, I did love being the bartender guy, like the bartender.
You just had like the
status,
like towel
you were
on your on your shoulder. You're polishing a glass.
You're like, hey, don't fucking come behind the bar.
Hey,
you know,
that's
hours. Yeah, I mean, I work my way up to the top of the fucking restaurant.
Like you walking into a bar like this.
Yeah, you know, it was you know, that was fun. I enjoyed the status, I guess.
Yeah, everyone likes a little sense of power.
Bartending is hard.
That's a good sense of power, though.
If you're a good, you know what I can't stand? The twisty mustache bartenders who are like,
my mustache was pretty long at that point.
No, like the mixologists with the straps and like, you're like, hi.
You mean a cool guy?
No. Very cool. But I worked at this like speakeasy in Cherry Creek, and it was like you would come down as a guest being like, I like this thing, and they'd just be like, oh, like a guffaw at the person. Not a fan.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't like you. I'm still going to tip you 20%, but it could have been 25 or 30.
Just make me my Shirley Temple and be quiet.
Yeah. I like what I like.
I guess I was trying to figure out a way, you know, you like working in a restaurant? I mean, how's that? I know you said you did. You're like, oh, this.
He's like, I don't believe you.
Yeah, I guess I'm just going to keep wearing you down.
It's not easy.
Right.
Like, it's not, like I'm going to go skip through this, like, field and enjoy myself every single day. I do have a passion for it, and there's always something new every day. Sometimes it's a struggle. And that's
you mean
like
a new issue you have to there's a new problem you have to fucking...
Have you seen The Bear?
Yeah, and that's why I hate The Bear, because it's like I don't too stressful, already stressful.
I'll say an unpopular opinion. I don't like The Bear.
Yeah.
I get care too much. I got the first season and I was like, okay, cool.
You're like, yeah,
trauma on TV. Great, guys.
He would have sexually assaulted that girl 80 times already. Like, they would have fucking.
Oh shit.
He'd be fucking.
No. He's gonna be fucking a server. Like,
yeah,
no.
it would be. Yeah, that's the unrealistic part of the bear that frustrates me.
Like, it's
also,
not real.
though, I think there are very few careers of people I know with careers that are like, yay, every day is a joyful journey. Like,
everything has,
you know what I mean?
issues.
Like, you're really lucky to do something that you're passionate about, and like Ash is passionate about it.
I don't love it every day, but I'm definitely passionate about it every day.
You know, for me, I think I don't want to be doing this in 5 years. I don't even want to be doing it in 2 years. But that doesn't mean it's if I didn't, we would not be married. We wouldn't even know each other. You know what I'm saying?
Very true.
Like, we met in
if
the
you didn't
industry.
like working in restaurants.
Yeah, if you think about it in that way, like we met each other through a restaurant, very, typical kind of start, but we're more successful than most. But yeah, so I mean, it has its value, and I do believe that people should work in some sort of industry where they have to have service, even if it's not a restaurant. And yeah, I don't know.
So I guess, what do you think is the problem with the Denver restaurant thing? Like, why do you think all the restaurants are closing? And do you think is there a way, besides taking it out on the minimum wage or the labor thing, the labor funds, is there a way to maybe improve that? I mean, I know that you guys have all the answers. So
that is the question, right? That is the whole.
Or do you think we should all just stop going out to eat and only have like Uber?
I would be
dining.
I mean, honestly, you just said
Grubhub.
Uber and Grubhub and DoorDash. I think that's a massive fucking problem for the restaurant industry and them closing. That's actually, you didn't mean to like bring that up, but like, because people then can order whatever they want.
They don't
have to tip. And businesses still make that profit. I go out to be taken care of. My favorite thing in the world is to go hang out.
Is to be taken care of.
Yes.
I mean, I get that.
I'm not kidding. Like, I love it. It is one of my favorite things to do. I've always said is to sit at a table and go to a restaurant and like be with the people I love the most and have yummy food and laugh and have a drink. It's why we got married in Italy. Like, it's genuinely something we love, and I am passionate about that. That's why going back to hospitality. So to answer that question, like, I don't know. Like, I think that, the fact that the political guy, what was his name? I'm sorry.
On the podcast? Yeah. Something Wasserman.
Yeah.
Scott Wasserman.
The fact that I think it is a political crisis a little bit more than it's just the restaurants. It's that everything is getting too expensive and everything is kind of been set up to fail for a while now. I don't know if that sounds silly, but if you have tariffs, if you have things that are tricky, it's just going to snowball even farther down. And honestly, like...
So you just see things getting worse in the future, unfortunately?
I fear for that, yes, because I think everything is going to be more expensive. And
only the ultra wealthy can go out for the $20 hamburger.
I mean, when we were in Rome, the burger at the hotel was $20, 22 euros.
In Europe, when we went, like, everything was
Hilton,
incredible and very, very affordable. Like, I mean, wasn't that your experience when you were in Italy?
Everything was affordable?
Yeah, like compared to here, like we sit and have a bottle of wine, a very nice, authentic bottle of.
That's not a good reference for me. I'm not a big drinker.
Well, no, but I'm saying,
I'm like, I know gelato was,
got the good gelato.
I mean, but it's very small portions. I want to give me a fucking Ben and Jerry's pint of this shit, guys. Like that. Get no fucking. give me an espresso cup full of jelly.
Hey, we saw each other there.
Yeah, we did.
We did.
That was great. Yeah, it was good.
It was cheaper to have a wedding in Italy than it was to have a wedding here. I'll tell you that. Food costs.
Really?
Yes.
Oh my God, that's crazy.
Yeah.
It was cheaper to have a destination Italy wedding.
Yeah. That's why people do it.
Yeah.
I thought it was to like. It was like not a 3-day party. People they don't want to invite.
I mean,
we paid for like a 3-day party with all of our friends to stay in a villa. What one person pays for 1 day for their wedding, like for 120 people. So it was like we had 40 people and a 3-day party, 120 people 1 day, and it's over. So
it's over.
Yeah. More bang for your buck.
Yeah.
I didn't know. I didn't think about it like that. I guess I was just...
And it was very hard for me when we were in Italy to not tip people because it's considered trashy because they get paid an adequate and fair wage. Like if you give someone $1 or $2, that is considered
euros.
Euros. Excuse me, uncultured swine. You give them that tip. That means they gave you the most exceptional service that you could ever possibly have.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other kicker about Italy is like they're not up your butt like we are here in America. They are like,
the bidet
hey,
sucked.
what do you want?
The bidet's not good.
Not all right.
I want more pressure. I need more water pressure coming in.
Yeah, but
the qualm
they're like,
Italy.
what do you want? I'm going to take your order. Wave me down when you need
stuff,
something.
Okay.
They went cheap on the butt
I'm
stuff in
trying
Italy.
to give a different perspective on the subject matter. But yeah, they're like, what do you want? We're going to go write down your order, smoke a cigarette, wave me down when you want something. But for like the first week in Italy, I felt so guilty not tipping. I was like, this is wrong.
Oh, that's definitely a you thing. How did you feel?
I got used to it.
I mean, I understood why you don't tip, but like there's will always be that part of me where I was like, oh yeah, we probably should tip that amount. But I'm like, no, that's part of their culture. You don't. So it's kind of like a tug of war. Like I knew my brain, my heart.
We got used to it. Okay, we got used to it. I'm saying in the beginning, I was like, I feel unclean. I feel wrong about this.
We were the product of our environment.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so Ashley, but I mean, anything future of the restaurant industry?
I mean, like Steph was saying, it's a lot of political when it comes to like the money aspect, because that's why restaurants are shutting down. They're not shutting down because people aren't going to them or they don't have good food. They're shutting down because they can't afford it. They can't afford to pay whatever taxes, whatever rent, whatever's going up this week, this month. You know, it's gonna be on.
I think the labor part is a piece of the puzzle, and it's not the whole picture.
I think it's a good 35%.
Do you find that less people are coming out or anything like that, Ashley? I mean, you're more management in the management realm.
I have seen, so like in my restaurant, we're very banquet heavy. A lot of holiday parties, things of that. I have seen the trend over the last like 3 years of people reducing their numbers, people not able to come out because they're, non-restaurant companies just not able to afford to have their holiday parties, to spend this kind of money in the restaurants because things have gotten so expensive. So I have seen that.
Okay. So there is a decline in customers. Okay.
Absolutely. In a kind of a major way. I think we were down like 30-something% from, if you track back 5 years, is about an average about 30%. And that kind of sucks.
And then you can't do anything. And then they try and skimp on the labor because they were down 30%. And you know what I mean? So you stretch that out.
Let's get rid of bussers. let's get rid of fucking this person.
Let's open our restaurant with 3 people in the kitchen.
Yeah. Let's make everyone tipped employees.
Yeah.
Again, wild. Okay.
Yeah.
The line cook is also your host.
Yeah. Sounds charming, but maybe not.
Not the greatest.
I mean, that's kind of what we did again, to go back to eat, drink.
I mean, yeah. And again, I mean,
and it was charming. It was charming.
Ultimately, company didn't last. Okay.
They did not stick around.
All right. Yeah. Well, thank you guys for
us.
thanks for coming out. I appreciate you
having
coming.
us.
Yeah. In talking, I know, it's probably like a weird ask to be like, hey, come and bitch about your employment.
Hey,
I mean, that's not exactly what it was, but
it's good. It's good.
I think it's a brave thing for you to come here and do this.
Oh,
I mean, it's a great different like aspect to like really talk about, because I feel like it's not talked about. People don't talk about like these underlying issues. We talk about like, okay, the long hours we work, the money we don't make, but we don't talk about like
where
the
it's
why.
Stemming.
Where is this coming from? We're curing, the small issues, but we're curing the symptoms, but we're not curing the cause.
Right, getting to the root of the issue.
Right.
And I guess I want the perspective of the workers, the people who are actually doing the job versus a restaurateur and a politician. The
issue is that it is increasingly impossible to live, and it's so expensive.
That's a different issue.
On next week's episode.
No, I don't mean, you know what I mean. It's just, it's tricky.
All right. Well, I usually let the guests sign us off however they see fit, the culmination of this experience for you. I mean, you probably don't want people to follow you on socials or anything like that, right?
I think
no. People want to come see you, really get the service, you guys are talking about. I'm just joking. Because most of the time, where can people find you?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, we're friends, guys. See, I keep looking over here. My camera's over here. Anyway, so do you guys have a sign off? Anything you want to say?
Honestly, thanks for having us. This is
tip your server or something like that.
Yeah, actually, yeah. Do it. Feel good when you go to sleep that you tip us, and then we're able to go out and have fun too sometimes, or buy dog food.
Right.
No, I'm sorry. I don't have a very eloquent sign off.
All right, maybe I could put it out as like one last message for the listener, someone who doesn't know about the service industry and is like, oh, interesting.
Sometimes people are having bad days. You never know. Right. So always be kind to your server or anybody that interacts with you in your restaurant or in the restaurant that you're attending.
Right on. I'll say be excellent to each other, Wakanda forever. And thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate you.